Welcome to the Sleep Dives channel. Today we're jumping into pages 316 to 350. And let me tell you, this section is packed with some really powerful tools for organizational learning. We're going to explore how to uncover those hidden assumptions that kind of mess with our communication, and then we'll look at how we can build a truly shared vision for the future together.
So, let's just start with a question to get you thinking. How much does your audience really change your story? I mean, think about it. That last report you wrote, that presentation you gave, did you tweak the message, even just a little? The thing is, we all do it. A lot of the time, we don't even realize it. And that, right there, is exactly where we're going to start this journey.
All right, so here's the game plan. First up, we're going to tackle the whole challenge of truth and our own biases. Then, we'll move on to seeing problems through lots of different eyes, planning for what the future might hold, getting to the real story behind the numbers, and finally, wrapping it all up by figuring out how to build a shared vision.
Okay, let's get right into it. Our first stop is a really fascinating exercise. It's all about making us aware of how our loyalties, to our boss, our team, our clients, how they secretly shape the way we present information.
So this exercise is called the loyalty analysis, and it's a super simple 4-step process. First, you just pick two completely different audiences, okay? Then you write a summary of something just for the truth, like imagine it's going into a time capsule to be opened in 100 years. No spin. Next, you rewrite that same summary, but this time for each of your two audiences. And then the magic happens in step 4. You compare them all. What did you add? What did you leave out? Where'd you kind of soften the language or maybe make it a bit punchier? It's really revealing.
Now, let's be really clear here. The goal isn't to prove that we're dishonest or catch ourselves in a lie. Not at all. The whole point is that this is a tool for self-awareness. It's designed to shine a light on those unconscious patterns in how we communicate, so we can start being more intentional, more honest, and, at the end of the day, just way more effective.
Okay, so once we get a better handle on our own lens, the next logical step is to learn how to see the world through other people's lenses. It's all about moving away from our own, often kind of narrow point of view, and into a much richer, more collective understanding of what's going on.
And here's a brilliant way to do just that. It's called the perspective wheel. Basically, in this exercise, your team literally role-plays as different key stakeholders. So you might have one person become the customer, another person is the CEO, someone else has to be the government regulator, and the task for each person is to explain the problem from that stakeholder's unique point of view. It's incredibly powerful.
And the power of doing this? It's huge. I mean, by forcing us to literally step into someone else's shoes, it just breaks down our natural tendency to get defensive. It completely shatters the echo chamber of groupthink. And what you're left with is a far more nuanced, a far more complete picture of whatever complex situation you're dealing with. All right, this naturally leads us to planning for the future. Now, a lot of people hear scenario planning and they think it's all about predicting what's going to happen, but it's not. It's actually a powerful way to challenge our own conventional wisdom and get our minds ready for uncertainty.
Yeah, and I absolutely love this quote from Napier Collins. He says a scenario is an imaginative leap into the future. The idea is you imagine several different possible futures, not to guess which one is going to be right, but to make yourself more aware of all the forces that are acting on you right now, in the present. It's about building resilience, right? It's not about having a crystal ball.
So to build these scenarios, you've got to distinguish between two types of forces. On the one hand, you have predetermined forces. These are things we can be pretty sure about. Demographics are a classic example, right? We know exactly how many 20-year-olds there will be in 19 years. But then, on the other hand, you have the uncertain forces, and these are the vast majority of things. Will customers want our new product? Will investors keep putting money into our market? Who knows? Scenarios are what help us explore all the what-ifs around these big uncertainties. Okay, now let's talk about the language of business itself. Accounting. There's this great concept from Fred Kaufman called double loop accounting. And what it does is it completely reframes numbers. It says they aren't some objective truth, but a story that we all create together. And it's a story that often hides the most important assumptions we're making.
And this table just lays out the difference perfectly. So a typical single-loop conversation is all about defending a number. Someone says the net present value is 15%, and the goal is just to win the argument. But a double-loop conversation, the goal is to learn together. It starts with something like, hey, let me tell you the story of how I got to this number. I had to assume 5% market growth and that our supply chain costs would stay stable. What do you guys think about those assumptions? See the difference? It's huge. It shifts the entire focus from defending a position to actually exploring the thinking behind it. And all of this work we've been talking about,
Understanding our own biases, seeing things from other perspectives, questioning our assumptions. It all lays the groundwork for our final discipline, building a shared vision. And let's be clear, this isn't about some leader handing down a vision from on high. It's about creating a real, genuine sense of purpose that brings people together, kind of like what Václav Havel did when he was building a new democracy in Czechoslovakia.
You see, a true shared vision, it's not just some motivational poster on the wall. It has to bubble up from conversations that are happening at every single level of the organization. It's not a mandate, it's a co-creation. It connects people to a deeper why. And when that happens, it transforms a group of individuals into a real community.
And just so we're on the same page, shared vision is really a whole package of guiding ideas. It's not just one thing. It includes the vision itself. That picture of the future we're trying to create. It's got the values, how we're going to behave day to day. It's got the purpose, the fundamental reason we even exist, and of course the goals, those specific milestones we're committed to hitting. Every single one of these parts plays a crucial role.
So the big question is, how do we start putting all these powerful ideas into practice in our own lives, in our own work? Well, the absolute key is to remember that these aren't just one-off exercises you do at a workshop. They are ongoing disciplines.
And you could start really small. Seriously. Before you send that next important email, just take 60 seconds to mentally run that loyalty analysis. In your next team meeting, be the person who asks, hey, whose perspective are we missing here? When someone throws a number at you, gently ask about the story behind the number. Just remember, the biggest mistake you can make is treating these like special one-time events. They're skills, and they only get sharp with constant daily practice. So, as we start to wrap this up, it's pretty clear we've been on a real journey here, haven't we? We've gone from the deeply personal work of looking in the mirror at our own mental models all the way to the collective act of building a shared future together. Yeah, we've moved from the mirror of self-reflection to the kaleidoscope of seeing through everyone's eyes. We've learned to map out a bunch of possible futures instead of trying to predict just one. And we've learned to look for the story, not just the number. Every single tool we've talked about is a step away from false certainty and a step toward real, shared understanding.
And that really brings us to the final thought. This isn't just interesting theory, right? It's a call to action. So the question I want to leave you with is this. After everything we've just explored, what is the one assumption about your work, your team, or maybe even yourself that you're going to choose to examine first?